Hey, do you remember that one time that Hasan Piker, who is America's most prominent left wing communist streamer, who was raised by his communist parents in Turkey, somehow attended some of the most prestigious universities in all of America? Why would you choose to do that if you hate America so much? Why would you live in Los Angeles, California in a $2.7 million, 4,000 square foot house in West Hollywood? That's crazy capitalistic for Hassan, who loves Marxism, communism, and there's lots of communist countries around the world. He could live in North Korea. He could live in China. He could live in Cuba, and he tried to, actually. Hassan went to Cuba and streamed from a 5-star resort in Cuba, complaining, by the way, that it's the only place with power. It just so happens to be the only place that had any electricity at all. Here's where Hasan Piker stayed. Yet the whole rest of Cuba is in total and complete blackout. Strange that. Look, here's what all of Cuba looks like, except for Hassan's hotel. So while he's in Cuba and in Havana throwing raves and then throwing out bread and making little Cuban children dance for him like monkeys, Hasan Piker is living large, sipping a literal latte in his 5-star resort that's owned by the Cuban government. And that's a very important sticking point here, because you're not allowed to do business with the communist Cuban government. They're under sanction. If you were found doing business with the communist government of Cuba or being funded by them or facilitating work or propaganda for them, it could be really bad news for you. This thread sort of lays it out. Hasan sipping his literally the worst time latte sip. The worst latte sip in the history of streaming is right here. The government
has very limited resources.
The government has limited resources.
And the American government makes it illegal for Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba. The lifeline for the Cuban economy as it stands currently. The government has very limited resources. And the American government makes it illegal.
You don't have limited resources.
For Americans to stay wherever they want when they're in Cuba.
I stayed in an Airbnb in Cuba.
In what they've declared as 5-star hotels, right?
So hold on, let me get the right frame here. There you go. This is the perfect frame. This guy in his designer clothing with his pinky up, sipping his latte in a 5-star hotel. I stayed in an Airbnb in Cuba. And by the way, that's allowed. And that actually helps out the Cuban people. And there was a little Cuban lady that stayed in this half of a like rent-controlled home that used to be a mansion, but it was like split up into a bunch of little crummy apartments. It was like falling in, and it was a nightmare actually staying there. But I did my part to like try and help out the Cuban people when I was in Cuba doing a documentary. Hasan Piker instead broke the law, as you can see here. Yes, it's illegal for U.S. residents to work with the Cuban government. U.S. maintains comprehensive economic embargo on Cuba, assets control regulations related to the Trading in Enemies Act. This prohibits most transactions involving the Cuban government and Cuban nationals unless specifically authorized by the Treasury Department. So what does this mean, working with? Usually involves providing services like propaganda, employment contracts, payments, or other dealings with the Cuban government. It broadly prohibits, because of the constituents' transactions with Cuban or Cuban nationals in interest. Oh, like this includes military-linked conglomerates like the hotels that they all own, because they own everything on the island. Many of the Cuban on the Cuban restricted list. So hold on. Did Hasan Piker commit a crime? We speculated that he might have when this trip popped off a couple months ago. And now we know that he did. Feds subpoena Hasan Piker and Medea Benjamin. This is the Code Pink lunatic who's also besties with MTG. Federal officials have served subpoenas to Marxist political influencer Hasan Piker and Code Pink co-founders Medea Benjamin as part of a wider investigation into U.S. organizations and their leaders if they violated U.S. laws and sanctions supporting Cuba's communist regime. Piker and Benjamin are among those caught in a federal inquiry as to whether the activists traveled to Cuba in March violated U.S. sanctions law through financing, coordination, or delivery of goods to Cuba, including potential contacts with the Cuban government, personnel, entities on the island. Administrative subpoenas were sent by a pair of Treasury Department officials. Oh, man, this is rich. The administrative subpoenas, called requests for information, seek financial, logistical, or communication information involving the trips narrowly, who they all widely bragged about taking the island delegation, Nuestra America Convoy, our American convoy, a global network of communist sympathizers and activists, Cuba's Communist Party. The investigation is part of a broader effort by Treasury officials to curb malign foreign influence operations inside of the United States. This is amazing. Hasan's going to get deported. Hasan's going to get put in prison. I mean, there's no way that they went to Cuba. Listen, I've been to Cuba. We had to book our own trip. We stayed at an Airbnb. Like we slummed it, and then the Cuban government raided us. They raided us. They sent government agents to raid us and take our SD cards because we were filming without the permission. That happened. It's all on camera. It's all in the documentary. We made it 6 years ago. Hasan Piker, there's no way that he made this trip without, like, he was living lavishly. He had the red carpet rolled out for him everywhere. They were staging concerts. They were staging little bread dancing competitions for children. Like, this is what they were doing in the streets of Havana. They were staying at the resorts that were owned by the government. They were being shepherded and feted around all over the communist island. Of course they were working with the government. You can't do stuff like that unless you're working with government. I was standing on the streets. I just stood on the streets with my camera. I didn't have any of these like lavish luxuries that were rolled out for these communists, these dirtbag communists. They're returning home for their $1 million mansions. Dude, you want to really punish Hasan Piker? Force him to stay in Cuba. Force him to live like an actual Cuban person that he claims to care about, like I did when I went to Cuba, because I went and stayed with Cuban people. Well, this is remarkable. Here we go. According to Fox News digital investigation, Neville Singham, this is like the new George Soros of the left, pumped nearly $250 million into nonprofit groups that have pushed pro-China, pro-Cuba, anti-American narratives and street protests. And Hasan Piker is part of it. Oh my goodness. Also of note, turns out that the memes are unbelievable there. Soon. Oh, that's going to be a big stream. Turns out that Ilhan Omar's little rat child is like this, like in the dripping ingratitude. I mean, do these people even understand how much they set back immigrant community, like the immigrant community? Have you ever looked into Isra Hirsi? Isra Hirsi, the like dirty little communist child of Ilhan Omar. She's this like little rat communist who is like, you know, just has like the lowest IQ commie takes, and it's so edgy, right? And her mom is also like a dirty Marxist communist member of Congress. Shouldn't be allowed to be. You shouldn't be allowed to serve in our Congress or our judiciary without being born in America. That's like a first step. But she's like little activist running around. Such ingratitude. This child would be raised in a UN refugee camp if it wasn't for America. And they come here and spit in our faces. Do you realize like that the American public is just so done with this? What you've done, like if you actually cared about migrants or immigrants to America, you showing like that you'll come here to try and destroy our country. You're not thankful that we saved you from a refugee camp in a war zone. You come here and try and destroy us and like attack us. It's the snake. It's the poem. It's the snake. You let me in. Why would you let me in? I'm a snake. Snakes. It turns out that she was on this trip, and then she's going to be also potentially indicted because she's the daughter of Ilhan Omar. Did Ilhan Omar help fund her trip? Oh no. Uh-oh. See, you can see here. Here's Isra Hirsi. Yes, I'm in Cuba. People here across the globe express solidarity with Cuban people. Well, if you express solidarity with them, you'd want the U.S. military to march in there and liberate them, right? So people who are standing against oppressive blockade exacerbated by the Trump administration. Yeah, it's not the Cuban government. The Cuban government's done nothing wrong. Look at this. Ugh. Ew. Jeez. I am honored to be here, make history, and Eid Mubarak to all. Look at this. Jeez. So proud of her masking. These people, I mean, they're so repulsive. They're real sickos. Like degenerate losers. Anyway, hopefully look, oh, look at this. I'm incredibly proud of everyone who made the trip to Cuba, says Ilhan Omar. Investigating Ilhan Omar and all this, obviously. Oh my! Here's Ilhan Omar talking about how great it is that her little Marxist daughter was there. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is really something else. I'm so excited. Hasan crashing out. The American government would rather try and criminalize delivering aid to a country we've starved than punish the Epstein class. Okay. Oh, God. Oh, it's all about Epstein. No, dude. They're two separate issues. You went to a nation, communist Cuba, that tried to nuke us, by the way, not too long ago. You can go read Castro's writings and go listen to his speeches. He said, I want nuclear weapons so that I can nuke America. It doesn't matter if I kill all the Cuban people. It'll be worth it to send a nuke into the heart of Manhattan. That's what he said. This is his same government. So this is what you're helping out. If given the opportunity, Hasan Piker and his ilk and those people will always choose the destruction of America. And so we should act first. Deport Hasan Piker. Right? Like charge him. Like make a statement here that you're not allowed to do this. Like that the American left will be shut down for this level of criminality. That you are not allowed to engage with the enemy to destroy America. Like this is, and take Ilhan Omar's daughter with her. Like this is a perfect opportunity. They're guilty. Like make a stand, especially given the fact that the administration wants to take down Cuba. Sweet. I cannot wait. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section if that's what you want to happen. Here is your boy Benny.